Hello, everybody. The Survivor Specialists, Phil and not Phil, actually, Will and Alexa are back to give you the episode 8 predictions for season 33, Millennials versus Gen X. Alexa and I have just met for the first time. Say hello to Alexa, everybody. She's back, fan favorite.
Hey guys, thanks for having me back. I'm sorry to bump Phil out for the week, but I'm excited to meet you, Will, and I'm excited to talk about this coming episode.
Yeah, and I don't think you should be sorry. I think people are going to be really stoked to have their favorite specialist, Will, and their favorite substitute specialist, Alexa. I think people are going to be really excited.
Yeah, I think we're giving the people what they want. So I'm sorry you have to hear that, Phil, but I'm glad we're taking over tonight.
We will kick it off from a comment from Bush Bear that says, "I would kill myself if there was a Phyllis podcast." Sorry to get a little dark right off the bat.
I'm so sorry. We can call him and see.
But I want to say say Bush Bear right off the bat. Give Alexa and I a shot. I mean, everyone's a fan of Phil. He's great. He is phenomenal Survivor analyst. But hey, I think Alexa and I can more than get the job done. I think we'll do a better job, actually.
I think we'll do a significantly better job. I hope your mind changes at the end of this.
Okay, Bush Bear, we're doing this whole podcast for you, so hopefully you haven't killed yourself yet. Wow, okay.
Moving on.
Moving on. We have the boot list score update because I handle the boot list score. Phil handles the prop bet, and of course he's just dropping the ball left and right these days, so we'll get that to you hopefully by next Wednesday for next Wednesday's episode. We'll have our power rankings, predictions, comments, all this stuff. Again, we do not read comments in the live chat. You're free to talk to each other, but it is such a pain to go through. So comment on our previous video, on our recap. If you haven't checked out the recap yet, give that a watch. One episode last week. Excited to hear Alexa's thoughts. I have no idea what you even think of the season because I haven't talked to you at all. Not only have I not talked to you about Survivor, I haven't talked about anything ever. So we have a lot to catch up on. I don't know how in-depth we want to go, but I definitely want to get your thoughts on last episode. So yes, comment on the last video, tweet at Phil and Will. And we'll get right into this thing. Alexa, what do you think of their move right off the bat? Because Phil and I both said, there's a lot of downsides, but we think ultimately it was the right move, and no one agrees with us. I'm pretty sure we got 7 downvotes on the video. That's so rare. I think the only other time that happened was when Michelle won and we were defending her win. People do not agree with us. I think it was a great move. I tend to think Michaela was such a big fan favorite. People are saying, I love Michaela. It must be a bad move because she's now gone. What do you think?
So, first of all, I totally agree with you guys defending Michelle as the winner because I would totally be on that bandwagon too. My initial thought was, oh my God, no, because I love her so much. And I know I'm not in a minority there. I thought she was so fun. She was not only great TV, but she was extremely smart. And up until she was voted off, you could see how strategic she was. And she was, 10 steps ahead of everyone else. So part of me says, good for Jay for figuring that out early. I am never a fan of early vote outs of strategic threats. I feel like it would have been smarter of him to work with her and to keep it on the back burner. Okay, I know she's smart. I know to get rid of her. But I think, especially with millennials turning on each other twice in the past 2 episodes, I just don't think from a numbers standpoint, that's a great move. But that reaction was incredible. Jeff, interrupting the silence to read that last vote was incredible. Amazing. But
that was my favorite part. The Jeff interrupting, it was perfectly edited. I've watched it 5 times since. I was showing it to people at work who don't even like Survivor. I'm like, you have to see this. It makes me, my heart sounds pounding every time I see it. Just that stare. And that Jeff, exactly. Jeff just interrupting it was incredible.
Right. The edit of that scene is incredible. There was, when you catch her looking back, and you can see her death glare at Jay, that's a camera angle that you don't usually get. You usually just get them from the front because they're not turning around and reacting.
Exactly.
So that was an excellent, I guess cinematography would be the word. So the scene couldn't have been any better. I just wish it wasn't.
Okay, I hear you. And I think most people agree with you that this was way too early. I will try to give Phil and I's argument. I know we've talked about it a lot. The idol, I think, was extremely influential in their decision, even though that's not what the edit made it seem like. It's, Michaela knows about their idol, and she is a blabbermouth. She will talk. And I also think she was so controlling. She was with these shells and rocks telling them what they were going to do for the next, 20 days on this island. This is what you're doing each vote, and that just doesn't feel good. Even if you can trust Michaela 100%, I know she's got my back. The fact that she's planning this far ahead for herself and obviously not for your benefit. It just scares you a little bit. And if I get to the merge and I'm Jay and I want to work with Taylor and I want to work with Michelle and I start talking to them, Michaela might flip out. She might go, look, I said we have this 4 is going to the end. I now can't trust you. She might tell everyone about my idol. Like, it's just dangerous having someone like Michaela because, yeah, she was trustworthy at this point, but do we know that she was going to stick to that for 20 straight days when she'd only been to one tribal council before then? Like, we just don't know. And from what we've seen of Michaela, yeah, she seems really loyal, but when you would get down to $1 million and you just keep getting closer and closer, she's not someone that you can rely on to just say, like, yeah, she's good with me till the end. She's going to play this game for herself too. I wouldn't have, honestly, if she were to go farther, I think she would write Jay's name down in a heartbeat. So I don't think they ever really that tight, other than they got swapped in the same tribe and were 4-2 majority, and that was kind of the extent of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have a point in that she is loyal. I think she is super loyal, but she was playing the game for herself, as you know, as are most survivors.
As everyone should.
Yeah, exactly. But she, you know, back when it was just Millennials versus Gen X, she didn't have any particular affiliation to Jay. She was sort of in that middle ground of, like, not necessarily Adam, but her and Michelle were alliance, but not fully committed to them. And I think after Figgy went, I think that puts Jay in a weird position because he lost someone in his original alliance. But from what I noticed about this past episode, that tribe of Hannah and Michaela, they all really liked each other, and I was looking forward to see if they were going to stick together at the merge, including Sunday and Brett, because it sounded like they genuinely got along. They weren't just still thinking on tribal lines. So I don't know. I'm excited to see what happens on Wednesday because they will be merging. So it'll be interesting to see if Jay can bring Brett and Sunday with him. Oh, and Will too.
Yeah, and I mean, them liking each other so much, it wasn't just that one tribe. It was all these 3 tribes. They all loved each other. Like, we have a division of Millennials versus Gen X. They get together in 3 separate tribes, and there wasn't this one, like, negative tribe that kept going to tribal over and over again or, like, had big feuds at camp. Like, they all genuinely loved each other. We got that from each tribe when they got to tribal council. They said this to Jeff. They confirmed it. And I think when that is on the table, when you're just saying, I love everybody here, it's kind of like a card you can play where, all right, gloves are off. Because I said I love you, now I can do whatever I want. Like, I've already expressed that I'm cool with you as a person. I have no hard feelings. I want $1 million. Now we can play this game as hard as we possibly can. I think that's kind of what came out, where Jay's like, hey, Michaela, I told you I like you, so now I can vote you off. It's cool because everyone likes each other.
That's definitely true. And this is such a likable cast. I can't really name anyone who I vehemently dislike. So I think because they all like each other, I don't think we're going to see a very obvious divide in the merge. I think we're likely going to see more of the voting block action, and that people are going to vote on a week-by-week basis based on, you know, who's on the chopping block. Does it work for them? If it does, they'll vote. If it doesn't, they'll vote for someone else. So it will definitely make things confusing in terms of relationships, and especially with all the different idols floating around. But it'll be fun, and it'll be very interesting to see, you know, who can strategic threat that Michaela once posed, who could take over as that, you know, as that position.
I completely agree. It's gonna be it's gonna be voting blocks, I think, from here on out. And this might be why Michaela's narrative was, she was so focused on, look, we have numbers. It doesn't matter who we vote off tonight. We're just gonna move forward in this game with numbers, and that's just not how Survivor currently is playing. Jeff brought it up. Like, votes are moving very quickly. Like, people are changing alliances, and everyone likes each other, so they can do whatever they want. So it'll be very fun to watch. It will make doing power rankings extremely difficult. But with that, let's get into the power rankings. Alexa, I know Phil sent you some sort of list. Are you going to do your own list? Are you going to do Phil's list? Are you going to maybe do a combo? I mean, if you have your own list, we don't need to hear anything from Phil. You know, this is your show with your thoughts. So I don't need to hear Phil's thoughts if we don't have to.
I think in honor of Phil, you know, I will go with his power rankings.
Oh, it's going to be hard to defend. It's going to be very hard to defend. He had Michaela at number 3 last week. Just saying. He
did. Even though if you told me last Tuesday Michaela's going home, I would have thought you were crazy. Which is what makes this show so fun.
I mean, I had her at 9. I don't want to say I had her all the way at 14, but
interesting. Wow. Okay, you had a little bit of foresight there. So I'll give Phil's power rankings, and then I will give my extremely strong criticism of whether or not I think those are correct. And I'll drop, if I see something that I don't particularly agree with, I'll drop in that position too. So we can have a little bit of mixture, me and Phil. So hopefully I'll defend correctly.
All right, I'm looking forward to it. I'll kick it off here. I don't want Phil going first. And I also don't want to hear Phil's rankings and then not know, I don't know, whether it's your ranking or not. I got my rankings all laid out this week. So I'm going to go Adam number 1. This should not be a surprise to anybody. He's got the idol. There are 3 people with idols. I strongly believe at least one idol will be played this week when you head into a merge, especially from 3 tribes. The level of comfort you should feel if you're any of the 13 tribe members, like you should feel scared unless you have the immunity idol around your neck, like unless you have that or hidden immunity idol, you should feel very scared. So I think idols will get played this week. Adam though is someone who I don't think people are looking at Adam right now. I think he's a millennial that wasn't in the majority, and then who'd he team up with? Gen Xers who aren't really in the majority or weren't at least in the original majority on their tribe. So I think Adam is going to be safe this week. Even if he does have to play his idol, he'll be cool. So I have him at number 1.
Definitely. And so Adam is also Phil's number 1, and he is my ghost.
We love Adam.
I think Adam's great, and I completely agree with you. He has an idol. He has a good alliance. I feel like going into the merge, Jay is going to be like target number 1 because the millennials are going to know what happened, and he'll have, I don't think his ties to Sunday and Brett are particularly strong, but I think Adam's relationship with Zeke and Zeke's relationship with Chris is going to be a very important group of 3. I think that'll be huge for Adam and Zeke.
Yeah, I think Adam will be good. Even it's so weird because I can't look at these 13 people and say, all right, there's going to be this 7 and then this 6. Like I just can't. I've tried. I've looked at it, and we even talked about this on our recap that you could do like a circle of like the 13 players, and they're each connected to each other. And we have a commenter who actually did do that, and we'll get to that. But it's such a mess with the numbers. I can't, like the people that I just know that have idols, that's all I can really trust right now. And Jay is one of those people, and I do have Jay at number 2, even though he is a huge threat. Jay, I think, won't be afraid to play the idol for himself. Like I know David played it for Jessica, and people always talk about who can I play it for. I think Jay is someone who's like, all right, I'm heading into the merge now. I'm a threat. I just took out Michaela. People are wary of me. I'll play my idol. We'll see what happens from here.
Definitely. I think Jay's in a tough position. Phil has him a little bit lower, and I don't have an exact number for him, but I don't have him as number 2 because I think he is target number 1. He made, the most recent big move, and that's happening as everyone's starting to team up, as everyone's starting to live together. So I don't think people will be wary to work with him, but I think people will be very wary to trust him. Kayla didn't necessarily have the tightest of bonds. I think if they're smart, they'll keep in the back of their mind, okay, he turned around and stabbed Michaela. I have to do. But him having an idol is huge, and I think Taylor is going to be pretty desperate and will probably need Jay.
Yeah, and they're friends. Like they like each other, and they were an alliance on their original tribe.
They weren't just an alliance. They were actually they were bros.
They were bros. They were broing down. And this is why I think Jay's move wasn't so bad, because anyone can say, okay, he just turned on Michaela. She's a millennial. But when you look at it, we have Will, who did that with him and probably was a bigger factor in that decision than we even know. I don't think it was a singular decision by Jay or Will. I think they came to that decision together. But that's 2 right there. Taylor is going to be with them 100%. Michelle's going to be with them 100%. Those, like the Triforce or whatever, who was the Triforce? It was Figgy, Jay, and Taylor,
Will.
Right?
Oh, yeah, it was those 3, and then Will was...
It was like the cool kids minus one. I forget exactly who, but they all weren't that tight with Michaela on the original tribe. I don't think anyone's looking at Jay saying, wow, you voted out Michaela, who was your, number 1 homie from day one. I don't think anyone's saying that. Like if this was Figgy and Jay takes out Figgy here, that's way bigger of a move. That's way more indicative of Jay's personality. But I don't think on the original Millennials tribe, Jay and Michaela were all that tight. So he has some leeway to say, hey, look, Michaela was, playing this game super hard. She was getting along with Brett and Sunday. Even if that wasn't the case, he can say these things. We do have Hannah working against him, obviously, as we see in the preview. But I think Jay has enough where, and if you're a Gen Xer, like let's say you're Chris and you see Jay just go turn on Michaela and you're down in numbers as a Gen Xer, I would reach out to Jay and say, hey, come on over and work with me. So I think Gen Xers are open to working with Jay after what he just did. And I think the original millennials, Michelle, Will, and Taylor all want to work with him too. So I really don't feel that badly for him. So I got him at 2. Who you got at 2? Or who's Phil got at 2?
Phil has Sunday at 2, which I think is a very interesting number 2. I mean, I think I don't see any threat of her going home. So I guess that's where he's coming from. But it's funny you mentioned Chris being interested in working with Jay and this whole circle of alliances, because I'm curious to see if Chris and Sunday will go back to working together. I think they will. I think they had a pretty good relationship when they were on the Gen X tribe, so I don't see any reason for them not to work together now. And then Chris with Zeke, and then Zeke and Adam, it's really becoming a gigantic circle. So it'll be interesting to see who breaks first. Sunday, I think Sunday's very loyal. She'll probably vote, alongside Brett and Chris, or maybe she'll stay with Jay. Maybe Jay knows that he can have her in his pocket now and use her as a vote. I don't know. I think she's very loyal. I wouldn't necessarily agree with her being number 2. But
I get it, and it's such a Phil move to put her at 2. And when we call this like power rankings, and it's not in terms of player who's the most powerful, it's who's the least likely to go home this week. And I totally get it. Like if Sunday is the merge boot after this amazing pre-merge and we're merging from 3 tribes and it's Sunday who goes home after all this, like I'd be pretty shocked too. And I don't have her that much lower. But in terms of like having the most power, I wouldn't put her towards the top at all. But while we keep talking about the circle. So I'm going to give Wences Acosta his circle here. So his chain. So it's a chain, but it's a circle because it wraps around. He starts with Michelle, then it goes to Will, then to Jay, then to Taylor. Now then it goes to Ken. I think this would be flipped because I think Jessica and Taylor had better relationships. I'm going to flip it for him. So it goes from Jay to Taylor to Jessica, Jessica to Ken, Ken to Adam, Adam to Zeke, Zeke to David, David to Chris, Chris to Brett, Brett to Sunday, Sunday to Hannah, and then we would link back Hannah to Michelle because we saw them actually have a kind of a relationship on the original Millennials tribe. That seems like that makes sense to me. Like that's just 13 people who all have a friend in each alliance on their left and on their right.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. And I think that's what I like about having 3 tribes. I thought when they swapped tribes, they were going to have, I think it was only 1 extra. So they would have had 1 person kind of go off on their own. But that's what's fun about having 3 tribes. It forces 3 different sets of relationships. And when they're putting them all together, everyone is intermixed. And glad that it's not going to be the Gen X's are going to vote this way and the Millennials will vote that way, and there's 1 person in the middle who doesn't know what to do. I think there's going to be 3 or 4 people in the quote-unquote middle, and that'll change week by week.
Exactly. And I couldn't agree more. I was saying this on the recap. I think the 3 tribes, whether you start with 3 tribes or you get there through a dissolve, it's the best thing that's happening. Modern Survivor is thriving because 3 tribes exist. Like it just creates so many more opportunities for alliances. Like, and especially when you have so many likable people and they all like each other, it's like, okay, I'm on this new Ikabula tribe, but I have friends from my original Gen X tribe, and then I'm going to merge with people probably from Millennials that I'll get along with great. And it's just like, where do you go? It's all going to be crazy, and it's making these power rankings.
It's definitely screwing up where I'm putting people for power rankings, but I guess that's fun.
And this is why I have David at number 3. Like I'm doing it again. I have Adam, Jay, David. They all have idols. That's my 1 to 3. I could talk more about David. I don't think David's the merge boot. He's been doing so well since his original like paranoia at the beginning. He's a great character. I'm really impressed by how he's playing. I don't completely agree with him showing the idol Zeke. I know some people love that move. We'll see how that plays out. But at number 4, I do have Zeke just because Phil was saying how Jeff Probst said Zeke's like you got to see the season because of Zeke. And I haven't seen anything that special yet. So I'm thinking Zeke really, and we see in the preview, he's like, I can't wait to break people's dreams and crush their souls and all that stuff. So I'm really hoping Zeke has even if he's not around for, that long, it might last, 2 or 3 more episodes. I think at least this episode will be safe.
Right. I think, so Phil has Zeke and David switch. He has Zeke at number 3 and David at number 4. I completely agree with Zeke. I think Yeah, and that quote is not something that I've expected the Zeke that I've been watching to say. So I'm looking forward to see what he does. And I think he's very good at building relationships. He's really likable. A lot of people have enjoyed working with him, but he's also very subtle. No one's talking about him as a threat. I think people might look to Adam as a threat before they look to Zeke. I don't know why. He's not necessarily quiet, not in a bad way, but I think but for some reason I feel like people don't see him as much of a threat as he could be, and that is a very safe position to be in, especially early on in the merge.
Yeah, I see what you mean. They might notice, like, he's present and he's there and he's talking, but they might not look at him as like someone who's playing this game really, really hard.
Right.
Even though
I'm gonna have to, for David, I'm gonna have to peel away from you and Phil. I do not like him showing his idol. I feel like that they've definitely toned down the edit, but I don't know. I have a hard time just showing your idol to people.
I don't like it either. I don't think it was a good move.
Yeah, and just especially Zeke, who I didn't see him having a particularly strong relationship. Zeke and Chris totally hit it off. They had I think the OU connection, but Zeke and David, I felt like that was very forced. I feel like on his side of the vote, but I don't know. I thought that was not the best move.
We never saw anything before that.
And there was no strong relationship. I think, I just think the more people who know about an idol, less powerful it becomes. And I think he's a trust you train, and going into the merge, you can't trust everyone. And I feel like a lot of people will just be pulling him in different directions. But I don't know. I really do not like that move.
It's almost like he overcame his paranoia so much that he can just, I trust everybody now. Here's my idol. Don't vote me out. Don't vote me out.
There's a safe middle ground that he needs to find. He's very trustworthy. He's actually, I was about to say, he's not one to turn on his own, but
he's so sincere when he talks, though. He's like this skinny little guy, and he just goes, I'm with you, and you just want to trust him. And I think that's like his biggest thing going from. He is very good at like being persuasive and gaining people's trust.
Yeah, exactly. He's someone who I think if I started playing Survivor tomorrow, I would probably be like him and just kind of be running around like, I got this idol. I think all these people like me. I like all these people. But I think if he back a little bit and slows it down and a little more conscious of who he chooses to form relationships with, he'll be perfect. But I think right now he's a little too trusting, and to him, and they had a good conversation, he might tell him about his idol.
Yeah, especially with someone like Zeke, I don't trust Zeke at all from what we've seen from him. And he's ready to play hard.
Zeke will probably, Zeke's power move, something involving David, because I think his ties to Chris and Adam are than his to David.
Yeah, I guess it comes down to me and Phil being huge babies, and we just have people with the idols at the top because we don't want to take any risk whatsoever. So I have Zeke at 4 after the 3 idol guys, and then I have Sunday at 5. Not much lower than Phil. I don't think Sunday is the merge move. We don't need to talk any more about Sunday, as we've already she was number 2 for Phil. So who's next up for Phil?
Phil has Jay at number 5. So, I kind of get that. I don't see Jay going home. I wouldn't put him in a position, even though I know he has an idol, which automatically makes him safer than, the other.
Everyone but 2 people, yeah.
And everyone but the other 2 who don't have them. I don't know. I think he's going to be in a weird identity crisis. I think he's got will no matter what, which is huge. Having that one person who is going to vote with you no matter what is, especially after making a huge move like that. I think Taylor's going to come back with him. I don't really know who else Taylor could particularly turn to. I'm curious to see how him and Michelle work together. I'm curious to see if they'll become a team or...
See, I think they have to. I don't think there's any other option because Michelle was with that whole fart scene was about Michelle being on the outs with those 3 people. And we saw Zeke and Chris hit it off. They highlighted that. Then we saw Zeke and David hit it off. They highlighted that. And then they highlighted the fact 2 episodes ago that Zeke wants Michelle gone and that Michelle's a threat. Then they highlighted Michelle that she's not getting along. Not that she's not getting along, but that she's not farting along with everybody. So I think Michelle's
Right, and that's dangerous.
yeah, it is.
Yeah, I think I mean, I'm looking at this list. I mean, she'll have Hannah. Hannah will be kind of her Will, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, she has no relationships to any Gen X. I think, I'm trying to remember what her and Adam were like. I don't think her and Adam particularly had a strong relationship back.
See, I don't think they did, but we weren't shown Adam interacting with any of these cool kids at all. But when we got to the new swap tribe, it seemed like Adam actually was really close with Figgy and Taylor, like way more than we thought. In that vote, when he voted out Figgy, that was actually a much harder choice. Because from a viewer, when we first saw the swap, like, oh, Adam's in the middle, he's flopping on the power couple easily. I think that was a much tougher decision for him than we thought. So if he and Michelle did have, some kind of working relationship, I could see them, getting back together. The only problem was we get back to the circle again, right? So we have Adam is with Zeke, and Zeke just said he wants to get Michelle off. And then we have Michelle going back to Jay, and we have Hannah with Michelle, and Hannah says she wants to get revenge on Jay. So it's just like there's so many moving pieces. It's like, how do we put this together? I don't think we're going to be able to tonight.
Yeah, like who's going to bend and break first? I think also Michelle, I might have said this when I was on with Phil. I think Michelle was tight with the quote unquote cool kids because it was a good numbers position to be in. I don't think, again, I don't know how much they interacted. I don't think she was as committed to them. Like, I don't see her and Taylor and voting together. I don't see her and Will doing something. So I think she's in a oddly safe floater position in that, she doesn't, apart from Hannah, I don't think there's anyone who she's fully committed to. But unless Zeke make a huge move, they know how strategic she can be. I don't see anyone on Gen X, disliking her enough to vote her out.
Yeah, I think Michelle is safe. It's just part of me is like, I think an idol's getting played this week. So a lot of my bottom of the power rankings are people that could just get booted after an idol. So it really could be anybody. I don't feel confident. Like here on
take a split vote.
What's that?
Like take a split vote. Split.
Just some BS where you get 3 votes at the merge and you're gone. Or something like a Jeff Kent boot where no one knows what's going on. There's so many people voting so many different ways, and it's pretty much as you're catching a stray bullet. And I think that likely is going to happen. I have Jessica at 6 just because Jessica was such a big character early on in the show. And I think there's more to be told. Like, she's going to get back with David. She's going to, have some story with, the Chris and Brett rivalry that we really never had any sort of panning out of. So I think Jessica is at least in it for a few more episodes. So I got Jessica at 6. I have Hannah at 7 just because she, for me, is like an ultimate floater. She can go where the numbers go. And because she's a strategic player and a fan, she's not going to have a problem voting with Jay for one episode, even if she's not fully on board with him and his plans and what he did to Michaela. She'll put that. She's smart enough and game savvy enough to say, hey, look, I can take another stab at Jay down the road. So, I mean, Hannah has nobody, and that's bad, I guess. You could look at that as a negative. But coming in the merge of 13 people, if you have nobody, that's also awesome because no one's targeting you and you're a free agent.
Yeah, I guess, coming in early to the merge, it is good to be a nobody. Phil has her at number 10, which is, I put her a little lower down too. But so Phil has Chris at 6 and Michelle at 7. I think Chris is in a really fantastic position because I'm looking at this list and I think he's, in terms of going into the merge, he has 2 Gen Xers, Brett and Sunday, who will come back to him. And he has this relationship with Zeke. So he can go both ways. And there aren't any other Gen Xers apart from sort of who can say that. And I'm excited because I was not loving him early on, but he's in such a good position. I would actually put Chris a little higher than 6.
Wow. Because, I'll get to Chris, but I think he's, for me, a candidate who is so, he could easily be idled out. He could get the majority. It could be something as big as a 9-4 majority, and they split the vote somehow. So? He could be I think he's too much a head of a snake, where if he can round people together, he's the guy you want to get out. He's the glue holding it together. Everyone loves Chris. Everyone knows he's a threat. Everyone knows he's physically savvy and like can win challenges. So I like Chris. I have him. I'll just kind of roll through here. I have Ken at number 8 and then Chris at 9. So it's not like I have him that low, but I have Ken at 8 just because he's had such a big story so far. A merge boot is possible with his edit, but I also think like Ken's going to pan out some way. I've said it 100 times. I don't think he's going to win. He's not a Survivor winner in my eyes whatsoever, but he's been such a focal point pre-merge that I don't think we can end the story in one episode. So that's why I have him at 8, and then I have Chris at 9. I just think if someone's going to get, like, if there's going to be a big, like a San Juan del Sur merge where we get power players just getting sniped off the bat, especially when there are so many fun players and contenders left in this game, Chris is ideal because, as Phil has said, we don't have this emotional edit at all from Chris. We've seen Jay talk about like millennials working hard and like being different than they're viewed, and his family. We heard about Adam's mom and his family. Michaela, who was a big contender, we heard about her family and her past. So the people that really were, favorites to win this game have gotten that. We haven't gotten that from Chris, even though he is in such a good position. So I fear that a merge boot is at least possible.
Yeah, that's definitely a good way to look at it. And Phil has Jessica at number 8, which reminds me of what you said earlier, that both she and Ken and Chris had such big early edits that I know it's coming back, especially, and because I'm sure it gets brought up once a week, but Jessica's legacy advantage, that hasn't been mentioned in a really long time, which I think a lot of people are okay with. But
that's true. I forgot about it completely. Thanks for reminding me.
I know, yeah. It was the first episode. Well, actually, I think it's been a couple episodes where they haven't mentioned it. But they wouldn't let Jessica go home up again. So I think Jessica's safer than number 8 where Phil has her. But she's not in a great position. I think, she's got Ken. I think she can go back to David, but probably still upset with her. And she's probably a very easy target for the Chris, Sunday, Brett, possibly Jay group, because then from Jay's perspective, he wouldn't have to get rid of a millennial and pick another person of his original tribe off. And, Chris, Brett, and Sunday or Chris and Brett are probably still, upset with her about Paul. So I think she's in a great position. So I think she will be booted soon, but I don't see that happening this episode.
Yeah, I don't see her going home, but do you think Jay, Brett, and Sunday, like, we never saw them agree on anything, and it's just something that, like, we know they had that conversation. It's not like Brett and Sunday voted Michaela out of thin air. They obviously had a conversation. I just wonder what was that conversation like? Was it talking about the future? Was it just tonight? Like, I have no idea where Brett and Sunday stand with Jay and Will. I have absolutely no clue. So I'm curious do you think they're heading in the merge thinking, hey, let's work together? Or you think, look, we made it to the merge. We use each other as numbers. We got the thread out. Now it's, all hands on, like, whatever. Like, everyone can do what they want. Like, let's play.
Yeah, definitely. And also, I think what made the edit of last week so good is that you don't see Jay talking to Brett and Sunday, because that kind of threw me off the Michaela trail. I was like, oh, they never spoke about it.
Exactly.
That was awesome editing. Yeah, you make a good point. I don't see it being wrong Bond by any chance, but I think Brett and Sunday, I would hope that they know that they're going in not in the best position. They have somewhat Zeke going back to this confusing circle, but they need someone.
Always back to the circle.
Yeah, this circle's really thrown me off. I miss the the 2 tiers, but I think I honestly think it really depends on where Jay wants to go, because Jay has the ability to have and will do whatever he wants, but I think that depends on who he wants to get rid of. So Brett and Sunday, I don't think they're going home. I don't think they're in a power position. I think they're in a safe spot of, if someone tells them where to vote, has 2 votes automatically with them.
Okay. I didn't even think about it that way. Like, if Jay says, hey, Brett and Sunday, this is where we're voting. We need you. I'd like to have you. They're like kind of, all right, I'm down because I don't have anyone else really except for Chris. So I can totally see that. I just fear that Chris is heading up this other majority, and then Jay is probably going to pull in Michelle and Will and Taylor and start another majority, and then we have, Sunday and Brett in the middle. And that's why I really don't know where they stand. I have Sunday higher just because she's such a non-threat. It's not someone that you want to, take out at this point. But moving along, I have at number 10, I have Michelle. I've kind of talked about Michelle. I don't know. I have her so low, but I am.
Yeah,
Depends. Wait, who's? Just because she's someone that could easily take a vote after an idol, and my bottom four are all people I think it's like they're not going to be your primary target, but votes maybe someone gets idled, saved by an idol, and all right, like these are sneaky players that they contribute to the power in this game. So at least for the 3 of the 4 people at the bottom, the last person doesn't really have any power. But who's Phil's eliminator pick? Because I'm thinking Michelle for my eliminator pick, but I don't want to have the same pick as Phil. So who's Phil's eliminator pick?
So Phil also has Michelle as his eliminator pick, conveniently enough.
Oh, of course he does. Of course he does.
That's both have her as your eliminator picks, but you also have her so low on your power rankings.
Yeah, what are we thinking? Okay, well,
there's a little something there. But
because
yeah, I mean,
I never know who I picked previously in my eliminator. Like Phil tells me each week who I picked, and I think it through. And I'm pretty sure I haven't picked Michelle. So that's one of the reasons why I don't know who I picked. But if that is Phil's pick, I'll go with Zeke, unless I might have used Zeke already, but I don't think I have. If I haven't used Zeke, I'll go Zeke. If I have used Zeke, then I'll go with Michelle, and it'll be boring if Michelle goes because Phil and I will both lose. But I think Michelle is safe. She's just someone that I can't place her too high because I don't have much power in this game. Like she's the bottom on her 4, and then if she mixes up with other people, she's going to. I don't think she's finding any majority here. The only thing going with Michelle is I think she's actually just a naturally great Survivor player. I think people trust her. I think she's just on the pulse of the game where she knows where to go, like to get information, who to talk to, how to come off as loyal. And I don't think people are looking at her as like a game threat yet, especially when there are 13 people left.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a safe bet. I definitely agree with you in that she's a naturally good player and she's naturally very conversational. She's very likable, and you notice that in the first couple episodes of the season. I think she's in a safe floater position, but she could also be, like you said, hit by a stray bullet. I think, I don't think anyone from her current tribe is going to turn around and say, we have to get rid of Michelle, except for Zeke. That could be his big power move that's coming up.
Exactly. And he has power. Zeke has influence right now. And if he's thinking that way, and they set that up 2 episodes ago, he could be like, I want Michelle out. So maybe I do go with Zeke as my eliminator. Yeah, and then Phil will lose. Now I'm kind of liking it.
Yeah. I like where you're going with that, especially the Phil losing part.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, she can get Hannah, Taylor. I don't see her working with Adam. I don't think she has enough numbers right now. I think she's gonna have to be someone else's pawn for a little bit, and then, establish something, and then make a huge move. She's not in our position right now,
and I think she's okay with that. I think she's okay with saying, look, I'll vote with someone for a few weeks and then, a few tribal councils and then see what happens, see where we shake out. I see Michelle having no problem with being in the minority for a little bit.
Right. And actually that is kind of a safe spot. And it's funny because Michaela had said something similar to that a couple episodes ago, in that she said something like, a little bit and wait for my time to pounce. And unfortunately, she didn't have that. But Michelle had such an aggressive second episode that, it was this crazy vote out, and then she kind of laid low again. So she'll almost go into the merge with a bunch of people not knowing strategic, and that's really good that people don't know what you're able to do. So it'd be safe for her to lay low for 2 or 3 votes, and then she can jump out and take out Zeke or Adam or someone,
No, not Adam. Hopefully not Adam.
I know. I don't want them to. I'm coming up with pivotal names. Sorry, they just came out.
No, I know how it goes.
It's nothing personal.
Gotcha. I don't know where we are in the power rankings, but
I think I'm at my bottom. So Phil has Hannah 10, Ken 11, Will 12, Taylor 13.
Okay. I have Taylor at 13 also. I just think he's a physical threat, and he's, I think, going to end up in the minority. It's just he's so strong, and he has no numbers at all. Like Ken and Jess, he had that little bit of hope, it really didn't look at like anything good. As Phil said, he was telling them that Adam said he'd never write Figgy's name down, except he wrote Figgy's name down at the first tribal council they went to. So him doing that again should not have been a surprise or like a betrayal to anybody.
Right.
I have Will at 11, Brett at 12. Will and Brett are people that are like, these are my straight bullet guys right now. Like these are people like Will is Jay's right-hand man, Brett is Chris's right-hand man. And if there are idols played or if there are immunity challenges won and you want to take out like a number of like the power person, these are people that could easily go. Their edits also suggest that they're not going to make a long run in this game or have a deep influence in the finale. So with both of them being, you know, kind of unprotected by an idol and in some sort of power position with their alliances, it makes them like great merge boots. So I got Will at 11, Brett at 12.
Yeah, I definitely understand the Will at 11 because Will is clearly Jay's number 2. I'm gonna switch out Ken and Taylor. I'm gonna put Taylor at 11 and Ken at 13.
Oh my gosh, Ken.
Yeah, but yeah, I guess I'm gonna shake up Phil's power rankings a little bit because I think Taylor doesn't have any numbers. Yeah, I think he's a challenge threat, but I think he's a number that someone can use, and someone like Michelle he could turn to because he trusted her once, he had her. So he's probably in desperation mode, and she's in a little bit of desperation mode too. Or he could jump over to Jay. I think Ken is going into this with anyone except for Jessica. I think his relationship with Adam is very strong. I think, like what you said, I think Adam's a lot harder than he let on. I don't know. I wasn't sold on Adam and Ken together. Ken has David, but he's a huge challenge threat. He's very likable. I think Ken is very dangerous, and I think people know that. I think he's not an obvious boot, but you know, he's a challenge threat. He's likable. I think he's a lot of numbers. I think he's a safe person that they'll vote out.
I mean, I see what you're saying. You went out a little in and out there a little bit. I don't know. It's probably my internet's fault, even though, I mean, Phil always blames it on me that it's my internet, but I mean, who knows? Probably is. I didn't get everything, but now that you make that case, I kind of wish I had Ken a little bit lower. He is such a threat, has no numbers, has no idol, and is just like, you know, why wouldn't you vote Ken out for the merge? It seems likely. And again, when I made my point as Ken being, what do I have at 8, it's just based on his edit, not based at all on his like position in the game. Just because I think he has like this more, if he's the I mean, he could be, they could wrap it up in one episode. I just find it really unlikely based on that. But hey, they snagged us. They got us great with Michaela. Like they got us. Even you just said she had that quote where it's like, I'm going to chill and then pounce. And then she never pounced because she didn't chill. She, you know, started playing with seashells and she got voted out. So they've been messing with us all season long. So I get it. And if Ken goes home, I mean, kudos to Alexa. I don't want to see Ken go home because I have him higher, and he's been so much fun to watch on TV so far.
Yeah, I want to preface that with I don't want him to go home, but I don't know. I don't think he's in a great spot. And I think you definitely mentioned that he did have a strong pre-merge edit. Getting the, you know, no, I haven't gotten any quote that really says, "Oh my gosh, Ken is going the distance."
He's not winning. I can tell you he's not winning. But he might be a big character down the line. He might set up somebody else's win. He might sacrifice himself in some way. I don't know. But he ain't winning. At least that's what I'm saying.
Definitely. And I think he's too dangerous. He could easily go on an immunity run. So if they were smart, they'd get rid of him. I don't want them to get rid of him this early, but their team. Going for the power move there.
Gotcha. Well, that wraps up at least. I still don't exactly know where Phil had everybody, but that's fine. I'll probably beat him anyway. I think I'm up on him in power rankings as it is. I know I'm up on him in the prop bet. In the boot list. We'll get to the boot list scores at the end. We'll head over to Twitter comments right now. We are going to start with my man Nathan, who tweeted out a screenshot of Phil's face when Michaela went home. He said, "My face when Michaela went home." And it is Phil looking like a weirdo. So you can check that out on Twitter. Very good screen grab there by my man Nathan. We have Gamer Girl here on Twitter. Whose blindside was bigger, Mari's or Michaela's? I think we both agree in saying Michaela's, just because she was just so floored. Like she did not see it coming at all.
Yeah, I mean, Michaela's, I try to take away her reaction because I still can't get over just how great of a reaction and yes, I'm the one who did it was. But I think a second episode boot, that was a huge blindside, especially for something that early. But Michaela, especially after, it being the second millennial in a row to go home, I was coming whatsoever, just because of how well they edited it.
Exactly. I agree. We have Gamer Girl 2330. Alexa, what do you think of the intros? Have you seen Gamer Girl's intros?
Yeah, I've seen a couple of them. I think the first time or after I podcasted, I checked out a couple of them. I'm really enjoying them. You should definitely keep with them. They're good.
Yeah, and I mean, she's got tons of themes too. So if you ever want to put in a request for a theme, she'll like make one custom. So maybe Alexa, you can shout out a theme at some point.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I'll totally do that.
We have Giovanni saying, should Jay had sung the Survivor Blindside music at Tribal Council as he was staring at Michaela? Honestly, I'm surprised he didn't sing, cry, or I'm surprised he didn't do anything. I still don't know how he just held that straight face. And supposedly, according to Michaela, it went on even longer. Like they were staring down for even longer than what we saw. So
yeah, Michaela had a very good exit interview where she actually, I think she ended up completely forgiving him because I think she understands the game and that, she can respect a big move. But at the moment, oh my God, it was crazy.
And that's why I love this season.
I think
No, go
I
ahead.
saw this Survivor on Survivor Reddit. They put, I don't know if you watch Game of Thrones, but they put the reigns of
yes, I did see it
against her vote out, and it was so cool.
You can put that music behind anything, and it makes it so much more badass, so much cooler.
And it makes it sinister. Yeah, that was I saw that, and I was like, that's exactly how I felt.
And Jay just nods his head, and it was amazing. We have Gamer Girl saying, I think that we'll get a 2-hour double boot episode at 10, just like in Cambodia. What do you think? We do have a double boot. We have to have a double boot or triple boot or quadruple boot coming up because we have 20 people, no medevacs. We've had one boot at a time. Unless this season's going to be, 3 weeks longer than usual. That definitely has to come up. I'd take it at episode 10. I'd take it whenever. Maybe we'll have a 4-hour finale. Who knows? Yeah. Do you stay on top of that stuff? Like, do you stay up on top of, like, when we're going to get double boots and kind of the whole production side of things?
When you mentioned that you knew there weren't any medevacs, that's something that I don't totally keep up on. But in terms of timing, I'm definitely aware of that. I think it was Kagian that ended up having a final 2 that I was surprised by. And so after that happened, I was like, okay, I should start paying a little more attention just to the timelines and how many people are left. I don't know if they'll do the double boot this episode just because there's so much going on with the merge. Maybe next week they would do it. Or I don't know if they would do that leading into Thanksgiving.
See, I think it was Cambodia where they did it was Thanksgiving where they did 2 hours.
Yeah. Because, I don't like the recap episode. I'm really glad they put that to bed.
Exactly.
I am not a fan of the recap episode.
They used to say, okay, Thanksgiving, everyone's with their family, no one's going to watch, we'll do a recap. And now they've just gone the complete opposite way. We'll put 2 hours here because we know our truest fans are going to be watching anyway. Exactly. And people watch online and, DVR and all that stuff. So I don't think they're worried about getting the episodes out there. We have Giovanni. Alexa, are you a Cubs fan? If so, congrats. Are you a Cubs fan?
It's funny you mentioned that. I don't know how much I'm going to go into this. I work for Major League Baseball. So I'm from Massachusetts, so I'm a big Red Sox fan, but I can safely say I hopped on the Cubs bandwagon and I'm loving it. I've been humming their song all week. You're a Red Sox fan, you hopped on the Cubs bandwagon. You guys broke your curse, just 12 years ago. Didn't you want to have that to yourself for a little bit? You know what? Maybe, dare I say it, maybe I'm not too selfish of a Red Sox fan. I think, I was young in 2004, but I remember, my dad and my grandpa, they were like, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. So it was cool to see something even bigger than that happen. And, 108 years is, there were so many facts that were like, women couldn't vote the last time the Cubs won. Like the Ottoman Empire still existed the last time the Cubs won. So I think.
Yeah, we got to watch out. The Ottomans might be back now. That's what I'm
worried about. You never know. Yeah, they could be coming back. But you know what? I'm so happy for them. It's a great story that the Indians are now the saddest franchise. It couldn't have been a better World Series. Went to Game 7, extra innings. It was fantastic. As a baseball fan, it couldn't have been written any better.
It was, and it was right after Michaela got blindsided too, which made it even more of a spectacular night.
It was.
I still wish, like, I still think it would have been so funny for the Cubs to lose. Like, and I think it's cool they won, and it's great. But it would have been like for them to lose in Game 7, like it would have been really, really funny. It
was the bottom of the 10th. There were 2 outs, and they switched out their pitcher, and I was like, they're going to screw this up. Like, something is going to happen, and they're going to completely mess it up. But luckily they didn't. Everyone can die happy now. So it was good.
Well,
so, yeah.
Not Indians fans. Not Indians fans.
Yeah.
All right, Alexa, what do you think of the Figgy Taylor fallout? That's from Giovanni.
Oh, my gosh. I mean, I don't know what to think. I've read a lot that Taylor went into it and went onto the show with the girlfriend being aware of what he might do. So that, in a way, I don't know. I feel a little bad for Figgy because I feel like she really was blindsided by this. I don't want to think that Taylor is some large evil mastermind who planned to have this thing with Figgy while he had a potentially pregnant girlfriend back home. But yeah, I do feel kind of bad for Figgy. And I think she let herself be stunted in her gameplay with Taylor. But I do want to see her get another chance because, everything I've been reading about her, all these podcasts she's been featured on, it sounds like she's very strategic and has a very good understanding of the game. So I want to see her without him. I want her to see her do a season without him. I think that'd be really great. And God, I don't know. That is the whole pregnancy thing. That is some serious post-show drama. And I know they're going to play it up at the reunion. And I know it's going to be awkward.
Yeah, I hope it's not too bad. I think by then they would hopefully have worked things out. Again, I don't know all the details. They were both fun to have on the show, and hopefully they are doing better. Again,
Right.
like I don't know what the situation is exactly, but they are not together, so that's kind of sad. But yeah, we'll move on here. We have Gamer Girl. Do you think anyone will get voted out with an idol? I don't know if she's talking about this week specifically or in general. I think because there's 3 people and there's 3 idols, like I think it wouldn't surprise me if one of them at least went home with an idol. And we haven't seen that. I don't think we've seen it in a while.
I think if anyone were to go home with an idol, it would probably be David. Even though he's already played an idol, so he clearly doesn't know when he or one of his alliance members are in trouble. But I think there are enough smart players that they'd be able to double cross him. And now the idol, Z could turn around and tell Adam, who has an idol. So I think David is the one who's most likely to get double crossed. I think Adam and Jay have enough foresight that they'd be able to stop it, or they'd be able to play an idol before they got voted out.
Gotcha. And then we have Giovanni here. Who will use their idol first out of the 3 of them? And I think maybe we already answered this, but I mean, I would say likely David just because he showed such a willingness to play it earlier, but that's really all I can go on.
Yeah, that's true. And I want to say David, even though that's completely opposite of what I just said, that he was voted out idol. So yeah, I really don't know which direction I'm going with here. Actually, if it's not David, I would go with Jay. I think Adam will hang on to his idol for a really long time.
I think so too. I think Adam I trust the most with the idol. We have Gamer Girl.
Right, Adam's in a safe position.
We have Gamer Girl here, and this is where it really gets down to it. Do you agree with the know-it-alls that Jay's move didn't make sense? And I mean, maybe this is where we can say, hey, we disagree with the know-it-alls and come out on top. I don't know. You didn't seem to agree with Phil and I as much that I don't think Jay's move was bad. I don't think it was that bad a move. I've explained it, I think, as best as I can, just saying, look, we have 13 people left. Everyone is going to have a reputation of backstabbing. It's already happened so much. I don't think this really hinders his reputation, and he has so many people to work with going into the merge. He has an idol. Michaela can't blab about his idol. I really don't think it's that bad of a move. And I had Jay as my winner pick. I still think he's going to win. I think it was such a cold-blooded move, and I think they're playing that up. And Jeff specifically said this. Are we back to voting blocks? Are we back to I like everybody? You can just roll with whoever you want week by week and get yourself to the end. That seems to be acceptable. That's not a villain role anymore. Instead, that's the strategic role. So I think that's the role that Jay is going to play, and we're going to see I don't know, another evolution of this game. And so, yeah, I would say I totally disagree. I did watch the Know-It-Alls. I love their podcast. I disagree with them, though. Like, they were just ripping into this move, and they said, oh, the idol had nothing to do with it. I think the idol had everything to do with it, even though that's not what the edit told us. And I think that this is not going to hurt Jay in the long run. But you can feel free to disagree. I know Phil and I at least were on the same page with that, even though many don't agree with this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was a terrible move. I wouldn't call it a bad move. I just don't.
It was premature. It seems premature.
Yeah, it was super premature. I really don't like early strategic voting, but actually that came out wrong. I don't like when you vote out a strategic threat that early when you can use them. I know Michaela came off as a blabbermouth, but I feel like her relationship with Jay was a lot stronger than what was shown, just because of what I've read. And, you know, I'd like to hear Jay's side of it, but Michaela's saying that they had a very strong connection, and that happened after the tribe swap. So I don't think she would talk about his idol, especially because of how strategic she was. She was planning out the final 3 with seashells when there were 14 people left.
I think that was so threatening. How would you want that girl in the game? Like, if I were on the island, I'd be scared of someone like that. Especially because if I don't stick to it, then she'll blabber and say I'm not trustworthy, I'm not loyal, even if I am. Just not to her.
Yeah, I mean, if he voted her out for that reason, I totally get it. But if he voted her out because she knows he has an idol, I don't know. Because
I think there were so many variables. There's those 2 things, plus she's a physical threat, plus she was never in your main alliance. She was never in your alliance before the swap anyway. Like, it was happenstance that you even came together. I just don't think there was really, like, she was looking at it as, like, because it's 4-2, we're going to go Final 4 now. And, like, that was just, that's not how Survivor works. And it's just, I can't play with someone that is going to, like, just take my fate and say I'm Final 4 with you when I didn't agree to it at all.
Yeah, I get that. And especially because they didn't really have much of a relationship beforehand. I think the thing that I really don't agree with is that she would blab about his idol. I think in a very specific circumstance, she probably would, but I don't see her waltzing around.
See, I disagree completely, because we heard her have the confessional saying,
you don't agree
like,
on something.
Right. She said, like, he's not playing an idol for me. Like, if I need to snitch, I'm going to snitch. Like, she said that point blank. And I think because that confessional was included, it's why this is not going to be a villain edit from Jay. This is going to be the strategic guy that cut off the person he liked early, and he did it at the right time. And that will end up, I still think Jay ends up winning. And not just because he was my winner pick, but because they're like defending Jay at every moment they can. And if they wanted to make him a villain, it would be so easy to make Jay a villain. Like, show the scenes where Michaela and Jay talked about their family. Because Michaela was talking about that in all our exit interviews, how they bonded over their family and all this stuff. We never saw that. And if they wanted us to think Jay's a villain and a bad guy, they would show it. Instead, they're showing us everything in the contrary to say, look, Jay, is playing the new game of Survivor, where you vote week to week and you vote people who are threats.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you in that if they wanted to make him a villain, they would have, because they wouldn't have had him, like, talking about his mom when he was getting his idol and having that emotional connection. But I mean, if the first time we really saw Jay was I did it, that would be such a villain move. But I can't really think of a past winner who did something and was so villainous in their vote out who ended up winning. I don't know. I don't not see him winning. I think he very well could win.
I don't know. We have
going to turn around and set him up. I think it's going to happen to him. I think someone is going to turn around and just totally chop his head off when all of us least expect it.
It's possible. It's possible. We've had Hatch winning season 1. We have Brian Heddick season 5. Then we have Tony all the way in 28. Hatch. And Tony was clapping when Sarah went home. I mean, there are things that were like, that's not the best, image to show for your winner. So, and I think, again, Jay has been really well liked and really well edited and have a really positive view from the start. Especially with him, he builds up this millennial theme more than anybody, I think. And I think that's why he will end up winning. We have a bunch of comments on YouTube, and I know we're kind of running late here. So let's roll through these. Twisty Pops, pretty insane. Only 4 girls left and 9 men. This really could be a final 5 of all men, as you guys predicted, or even final 6 or final 7. I don't know if we completely predicted that, but it would be cool to see a One World reverse. We haven't seen it yet before. He says all these athletic alpha males like Chris Taylor, 10J, could even add in Brett, have made it to the merge. Will be interesting. Yeah, well, so what do we think about all these guys headed into the merge? Haven't seen this one in a while.
Yeah, that's true. Especially because we haven't really talked about the challenges much, but if we have a lot of physical challenges, they're going to be pretty fun to watch. And I haven't been loving the challenges in the past couple seasons, so it'll be fun to see a lot of big alpha males go at it. But yeah, I was looking at a picture of everyone's been voted out so far, and it's all girls except for Paul, which I don't think that was planned. I don't think anyone was like, let's vote out all the girls. But it's interesting to see how that works. And a reverse one world would be kind of cool to see. Those who are left are not. I don't think they're going to go down easy. I don't see Michelle going.
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, we have Michelle, Hannah, Jessica, and Sunday. Sunday could go whenever, but I think the other three definitely have a lot of game left in them.
Yeah.
We have Nate.
Will be tough.
What's that?
I said, yeah, the challenges will be tough, especially if it's male, like alpha male oriented challenges. That'll be tough for them.
Yeah, and I think the males are going to want to turn on each other, especially like if they have all these numbers and there's so many, like you just mentioned, all these physical threats. Like they're going to want to get each other out. We have Nate saying, Michaela in an interview said she respected Jay's game enough that she didn't feel like bringing up the idol at Tribal. I think I heard this interview. I think it's complete BS. I think it's revisionist history. I think she just didn't think about it at the time. I don't think she was sitting there right after getting blindsided thinking, you know what, Jay, I really respect you, so I'm not going to bring up your idol. I think it just slipped her mind because she had so many other things that she was thinking about.
See, I don't think she would walk out of Tribal Council saying that he had an idol. I don't think, even if she saw it coming that he was voting her off, I think you're a little right with the revisionist history, but I don't think she would do that. I know she had a bunch of hilarious quotes and they were pretty aggressive, but she said in this most recent episode, I shouldn't have said the things that I said. She said something at one of the challenges that was like, whoa there. But she turned around and said, yeah, I probably should keep my mouth shut. So I think she's smart and she lets on. I really don't think she would have blabbed about his idol. I don't know. I think that's a little immature and I really don't see that.
Yeah.
Or as she's voted out. Maybe during, I know we talked about if she was still in the game, but walking out, getting your torch stuff, you're going to say that Jay is an idol. I don't see her doing that. I see other people doing that.
Yeah, no, I hear that reason. That's like she wouldn't do it, but I don't think that's the reason why she didn't. I don't think she remembered. I don't think it crossed her mind.
Oh, yeah. If I was voted out, that'd be the last thing on my mind.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, we have a good amount of comment. We're not going to read all of them. MVP, LVP. Phil always tallies that up, and he does it through Twitter and YouTube. So I'm going to let him do that. So we're not going to address LVP and MVP. But we have Sitting Cat here. Jay gets rid of ally he said he trusted and who would have been a massive target and therefore a shield for him at the merge, and he saved someone he said he didn't trust. He's done everyone's dirty work for them and left himself more vulnerable. Not a rational move, and I hope it bites him hard. So there you go. There's the argument from Cinecat that this was not a good move.
There we go. I got so much game.
We have Diego Urena. Sometimes when you fight, it reminds me so much of my boyfriend. Oh, this is about Phil and I fighting. So here's this question. Can Michaela blindside be Hannah awakening like Neil like Aubrey waking up when Neil got evacuated? That's possible.
I don't see that in Hannah. I don't see Hannah going on like a Tyson or like an Aubrey kind of rampage. I don't know. I think it'll wake her up because even during Tribal, she was just like, oh my God, I had no idea what happened. I think it'll wake her up to be more strategic, but I don't see her taking the reins and leading it.
Yeah, like I already saw Hannah as a strategic player. She hasn't had that much opportunity to go to Tribal, and I think she was playing hard anyway. And I think, yeah, she'll like want to get revenge or, make sure she's in the numbers and is now way more wary of Jay as like someone who can win. But I think she was always going to play really hard. We have Audrey here. I agree that Jay having the balls to look her in the eye and admit he did it, that makes me really, really want him to win. So I think a lot of people said villain, but yeah, I think this is really cool too. I think it was a really cool moment. I don't know how negative that was. Just like he was owning up to it. I think, again, this is like the whole evolution of the game where it's like, yeah, I just blindsided you and I like you. Like that, I did it. So it wasn't really a malicious. It's like him actually owning up to it and not trying to like shy away from it.
Yeah, I will give him. I love when people own up, so I will absolutely give him that. I love honesty, so that was a huge check for me.
Exactly, and I think this is why we're leaning more towards this as positivity for Jay, and that he's like in a winner's position and not the villain position, because it again, like it was so easy to make him out as a villain. Audrey says, I think that Michaela just was so shocked that she didn't even remember the idol. Yeah, I agree. She says, great episode, one of the best ever. I agree with that too at the end. I mean, that moment again was one of my favorites.
Yeah, that was a huge moment. Yeah, that was definitely top, one of the top tribal councils I've seen.
Well, Alexa is now, Alexa's going through and just crushing old seasons because we want to have Alexa on more, and everyone's, been so warm and welcoming to her, and we love having Alexa available when either of us can't do it. So she's going back and crushing old seasons. She might become more of a historian than Phil.
Yeah, don't tell Phil, but yeah, I'm coming for him.
We have Lil and B. Yeah, I did it. Total gangster move by Jay. I love that he stayed her down. He did not back down and owned what he did. So we're getting split thinking from our viewers here, our listeners. Dennis O'Connell, hey guys, do you think Chris is one of the best challenge players ever? I feel like every award immunity, he is on another level. This is true. He's huge. He's massive. He's a football player.
Yeah, he's ex-football player. That's a good position to be in. I think, he's definitely good in challenges. I'm excited to see him go up against guys like Ken now. I'm excited to see him, not meet his match, but meet someone who could probably be just as good as him. Yeah, and this goes right into the real Negroes question. Who do you think will win the most individual immunities? Ken, Chris, Taylor, or Jay? He thinks Ken because I think he is better all around at challenges. Because Chris is kind of just a big body. Yeah, Ken would make sense. Taylor, I feel like he'd have a hard time with puzzles. I think I'd go with Ken. I agree with that.
I think Jay, I love Jay. I think Jay and Taylor, just because I think they're better overall. I think they would be able to do a puzzle easier. At least Jay would. And then there's like a balance, agility, endurance, like pure strength.
Jay and Ken would be really good at balance ones. And there's so many of those, especially with individual immunity. That's where Chris falls. Gotcha.
I wonder how many times they're going to offer like one for the women and one for the men too. Like how often will we have two people immune?
Yeah, true. I don't know. Actually, that'd be fun. Nah, they wouldn't do that early on.
Did you know Jay was going to be on Co-Rom? Rumor has it that Nick took a spot. I did not know that. That's from Giovanni.
Wow. That would have been a very interesting change-up.
I think he does better on this season, for sure, because he would have been on that beauty tribe, and they never went to tribal early, and he's like the young threat and all that stuff.
Yeah, I think he's in a pretty good position. I wonder how Nick would have done now. And Nick would have done in Millennials Gen X. I love Nick. I thought he was so fun.
He was fun. I don't think he was ever going to do like super well, though.
I don't think he would go particularly farther. He's a good character.
He was, and he writes blogs and stuff, so you can still catch him. We have more comments. We're just not going to be able to get to them all, just because we're going on kind of long here. But we have Jeff Rowe saying Alexa should be more often. She is so lovely, with a smiley face at the end.
Oh, thank you. Well, if you guys let me come on more, I will. And there's a reason I've been crushing all these old seasons, so we'll see if anything happens.
That's right. That's gonna wrap it up for comments. If we didn't get to your comment, I'm really sorry. We have a lot, and I'm so bad at reading and filtering comments. I know Phil usually does it. I'm not the most experienced. I hope we got to everybody. If you did have a comment, eliminators in. Alexa, do you have an eliminator pick just for the hell of it? If you just want to pick somebody.
Yeah, I'll pick one for the hell of it. I am gonna go with Zeke.
So you're copying me.
Oh, you had him. Okay, that's not fair. I'm going to go with Chris.
There you go. If Chris goes home, you might not be allowed ever to be back on the podcast. That's the stakes. It's big stakes.
Give the people what they want.
We'll try. Hey, it's up to you. It's in your hands now. Well, it's in Chris's hands now. Thank you to everybody for tuning in this Sunday. We will get to you Wednesday. Phil will be back, I think, but if not, I had a great time breaking it down with Alexa. So
an Alexa show.
Well, on the Alexa show, this, Phil can't do it. Doesn't really matter. Who cares? All right. Thank you, everybody. Sorry again if we didn't get to your comments. Good show, and we'll see you Wednesday.